Hi, my name's Rick Jansen and this is my fly bench. Here in BC we're very lucky to have several trout species to pursue. Brook trout, bull trout, the king, rainbow trout, and cutthroat trout. Here on the Pacific coast our cutthroat trout are broken down into three types: lake resident, river resident, and sea run cutthroat trout. Wouldn't it be nice to have one fly to pursue all three types? Well, we do. And in addition, as a bonus, this trout is also very attractive to the blackwater strain of rainbow trout found in BC's interior lakes. These fast-growing trout get very heavy and are highly sought-after prizes. And they have a cannibalistic appetite. So let's take a look at Murray's rolled muddler. Welcome to my fly bench. The first reference I ever saw to Murray's rolled muddler was in a 1984 book called A Cutthroat Collection. Tom Murray of North Vancouver developed this fly to pursue the sea run cutthroat trout of his home waters there in North Vancouver and on the Sunshine Coast. It's a minnow pattern, very simple to tie, but it takes a little time as it has a spun deer hair head. Let's take a look at the materials you're going to need to tie this fly. Rolling or folding feather fibers is a useful skill to have. Here I have a mallard flank feather, and from that I'm going to peel off the base fluff feathers here. Now I've gotten to the fibers I want to use, and I'm going to select the length I want along the shank of the main stem of the feather here. Here I've got a little more than ½ an inch. I peel that from the main stem and pluck off any of that remains behind. Now what I do is I grab those bases in my right hand and stroke the feathers until they are relatively straight. Now holding them in my left hand, I will now use my right hand to fold this width here in half. Then, because there's more foldability there's more width, I'll fold that again in half. And there I have my rolled mallard flank feather ready to use as a wing or a tail. Into my vise I have a TMCO number 8 4x long nickel plated hook. The exact number for this model is the TMC 9394. The reason I've gone with this particular hook is that the marine environment, it resists corrosion. And I prefer this for my sea run cutthroat and salmon flies. I've made a couple of alterations to Tom's original recipe. Back in the early 80s they didn't have these nickel plated hooks, they had bronze, and so they put on a tinsel body. And I've been able to eliminate that step. Another minor alteration is in the tail. I'll give you a look at that. So I'm using my 70 denier gray tying thread here for the tail because I want it to blend in with the tail. And I'm going to use my mallard flank feathers, and I've already pre-rolled them. Later in the video I will demonstrate how to roll mallard flank feathers, and I'm putting that as the tail. I want it about half the body length, so I'm going to measure that up to about half the body length, put that in there, and then with a couple of loose wraps secure it in place and then give it a good binding down. Cut off the tag ends, and now I'm going to whip finish that by hand. First I'll give it a half hitch, and then I will whip finish by hand because the whip finish tool has a little difficulty reaching that far back on the hook. I'll put a link at the end of this video on how to whip finish by hand. It's a good skill to have, and I use it from time to time when I need it, when a whip finish tool is impractical. Cut that off, and now my tail's secured. Now I've skipped the tinsel body, And I'm going to take my 8/0 unithread in red and secure it a little ways back from the eye, a little further back than one would think. Maybe 2.5 eye lengths, because I want enough room at the head of this hook in order to spin the deer hair. So I'll get that red thread secured in there, and I'm going to bring in my wing, and again, it's rolled mallard flank feather, and I want it to come to about the length of the tail. So I'm measuring that into place there, and I'm going to secure that on, and then I'm going to put some wraps in behind it to try to cock it up from the hook shank a little bit. Give it a little bit of lift. So it's a little bit of volume to that wing. Okay, we're going to clip off the tag ends there. And this is another little addition I've made just to give it a little more sparkle in replacement of the tinsel, is I've got some crystal flash in natural tint, the pearlescent. I'm going to wrap that, a single piece of it, around the thread, like so, and bring it up, and then secure it at the wing there to add a little more sparkle to the fly. I want to cut it about the same length as the wing. Okay, so we'll get that secured down into place, cut off any loose ends. And now we get to spinning the deer hair. And again, we forego the stacking when we're using deer hair to spin. So I'll cut off a cluster of deer hair, give it a single wrap, and spin it. Then push it back, get all the fibers flowing to the rear, give it one wrap in front, next bunch. And I'm going to do this now without anecdote and carry on the fly, so you can just watch this process. Now that I've got a number of stacks of deer hair packed in there as tightly as I can make it, I'm going to give this thing a head. A nice conical shape there, folding all the fibers back with my left hand. And again, I'm going to whip finish by hand because it allows me to do it single-handedly, whereas with the whip finish tool you need both hands. So I give it a little more slack there. I need a little bit more slack. And we can whip finish it. Pull that down tight. Place that last loop in place. Cut off our thread, and now we need to go to work and give this thing a little haircut. Again, without anecdote, I will just shape the head. And there you have Murray's rolled muddler, tied with some minor alterations. We've got a spun deer hair head there that's bullet shape. I leave a few long fibers of deer hair to represent the stickles on the stickleback, which is often prey fish that the cutthroat pursue. You could easily cut those off if they don't appear on the bait fish in your area. Great fly for the coastal cutthroat in all three types, whether they're lake, river, or sea runs. And those blackwater rainbows I found are highly attracted to this larger mouthful of fish. So good luck out there, tight lines. Thanks for watching.